Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I wish to acknowledge the honourable member for the question. Let me first again acknowledge the great work done by our frontliners and, of course, including our members of the Fiji Police Force as well. And I wish to congratulate the Commissioner and his senior officers and men and women of all ranks in the Fiji Police Force for their dedication and commitment to duty throughout this very challenging period. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fiji Police Force is not exempted from the challenges. As we are all aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are in a time of crisis, and the challenge it brought about has also led us to relook at the way we do things and, of course, learn from it as well. And as we go along, efforts are being made. Let me emphasize this, Mr. Speaker, sir, as we go along, efforts are being made to try and continue to improve service delivery and at the same time responding to all the expectations, particularly from our communities right throughout the country, Mr. Speaker, sir. In doing their work, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me say that the members of the force are not even spared from the pandemic itself. Let me say that as of to date, a total of about 672 personnel from the Fiji Police Force got infected as well. But the good news, Mr. Speaker, sir, out of that number of 672, 544 have recovered. And of course, we still have a few cases on home isolation or in the other facilities that are provided by government. And as we speak, about 128 active cases are still in the force. But let me assure the general public that we are conscious of the fact that while performing the work, we are also can be categorized as a carrier, and of course the possibility of spreading the disease. But that's for everybody, particularly in the red zone of our containment areas. All of us are possible spreaders, given the fact that we are in an exposed environment. But I also wish to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that because members of the force were affected, most of them had their family members affected as well. And that's logical. And of course, I think it's consistent with all the other cases as well. Once a member of the family, and in this instance, a member of the force gets infected, then the members of their families as well do get affected. But we follow that closely, and I'm also thankful that most of them have recovered as well. Mr. Speaker, sir, the normative functions of the Fiji Police Force has to continue, and we all in this August House do very well understand the functions of the Fiji Police Force. But because of the extra responsibilities, Mr. Speaker, sir, and like I said, for other organizations as well, it really helps us or even forces us to relook at the way we do things, and the need for us to work smarter, the need for the force to reprioritize, the need for the force to have the need to concentrate on where it's needed and economize in other areas as well. A lot of flexibility within the force itself, Mr. Speaker, sir. I remembered very early during the pandemic visiting Lami, and I saw members of the Fiji Police Force band in the checkpoint in Lami. So most of the people that were also in office duties or other functions, because of the extra work, have to undertake most of the work that needs to be undertaken, Mr. Speaker, sir. We all understand as I've said, the normative functions, investigations, and the work of the drug unit and the traffic unit, and all that continues, Mr. Speaker, sir. But in terms of COVID responses, we all understand the huge role that the Fiji Police Force undertakes, particularly in the control of movement. And with that control of movement comes the enforcement of the laws and the regulations that were put into place most recently as well, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's unfortunate that some members of the community still choose to disregard the laws, and of course, as a result, most of them have to be brought before the courts as well. And I will not go into the data, Mr. Speaker, sir. But I think on the other hand, and thankful as well to government for the imposition of the curfew, most of the crime rates decreased. If I may mention, Mr. Speaker, sir, the overall crime recorded during the period as compared to previous years, particularly the year before, recorded a decrease of about 13%. Crime against women, overall, I'm talking overall, Mr. Speaker, sir, but there are some indications that in some places, some crime against women increased, but overall, it decreased by around 11%. And of course, drugs, illicit drug cases, significant reduction, Mr. Speaker, sir, by 56%. I will not go into the other details, but again, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I've stated, let's not only focus on the negatives that this pandemic brought about, but I think it gives us, as an organization and as a community, individuals, and of course as a government as well, to learn from this crisis. And for the Fiji Police Force, as I've stated, Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to work smarter within the resources that we have, including financial, and of course the personnel, and of course the capabilities that we have. The reprioritization, that is also very, very critical. The need for the good technology and equipment, which will assist us in economizing, that becomes very critical as well. And I'm thankful that the Fiji Police Force is not excluded from most of the assistance by our partners. And of course, there is, I will be having a virtual meeting with an organization in Australia on Wednesday next week at 10:00 hours, because they are interested in assisting particularly security forces personnel, and with particular emphasis on the Fiji Police Force, on how they can help in training and equipping them better for challenges as such. So look forward to that conversation next week, Mr. Speaker, sir. And of course the use of technology and equipment, new equipment particularly. That very briefly is the initial response, and I'll be happy to take further questions if needed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank the Honourable Minister.